Welcome back, everyone, to Stadiacast, your source for all the Stadia news that you need. I'm Bill, that's Lloyd. What's up, Lloyd?
Not much. Happy New Year, everybody. A new year of awesome Google Stadia news, we hope, here at Stadiacast.
And that's right. Happy New Year. It kind of has already come and gone, but I keep forgetting that it's like this is the first episode of 2020. So that's surprising to me. You just surprised me with that. Before we get started, we record this show live Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern, over at youtube.com/Stadiacast. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast player. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can also subscribe to this in your favorite podcast player. It costs you absolutely nothing, and the show gets downloaded to you automatically every week, and make sure that you do that. And again, if you're listening to this, then make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel because we post other videos that are not just the podcast. If you want to directly support Stadiacast and you happen to be here with us live, you can use the Super Chat feature in order to support us and make sure that we see your messages. There ends up, by the end of the show, there's usually well over 100. Sometimes we've had up to 700 people in here. And it's really hard to follow chat. So if you want us to see your messages, make sure that you use that Super Chat feature, and we guarantee we will respond to every single Super Chat. So thank you very much for that. And if you're not here live and you want to support the show, it's super easy to do. Go to the YouTube channel, and there is a join button right down below the video, and you can click on that and become a member, which is a super awesome way for you to help us make more content like this. Lloyd, we start every episode out with now that we've been playing games. We start every episode out with what you've been playing. So, what have you been playing, man?
As I mess with my my color on my camera, don't mind me, people. I've been playing a heck of a lot of Borderlands 3. I absolutely adore that game, and I've been spending all the free time that I've had since finishing Darksiders, playing Borderlands 3. It is I've played Borderlands. I played Borderlands 2. I played the pre-sequel. I've played all the DLC for every Borderlands game, and I think that number 3 is my favorite Borderlands. It's the most loopy loop that there is. There's so many guns, so many things to do. I'm finding that I'm not sticking to any weapon for more than a couple levels, because then you're out leveling the power of those guns. So it's been fun just going through battles and looting chests and looking for red chests and all this stuff, trying to get bigger and badder weapons so you can take on every boss, because it seems like even playing on easy, the bosses are really, really hard if they're at your level. So I've just been absolutely having a blast playing Borderlands 3.
It's funny. So Lloyd and I did a co-stream earlier this week, and what level were you at that point?
I think it was like 10 or 11.
Okay, so he was like 10 or 11, and I was like 21, I think. And I felt like, excuse me, I felt like I had played Borderlands a lot this week. And then last night, I was, excuse me, I was trying to fight a boss, and it was just kicking my tail over and over and over again. And by the way, if you don't know, every time you die, you lose money. And so I looked on my friends list, and I saw that Lloyd was playing. Actually, no, it wasn't that. It was you know how over on the left-hand side of the screen, it pops up, so-and-so just killed this thing, so-and-so just did this. And I looked, and I saw Dasme has just killed something. I can't remember what it was, but it was something that I had recently fought. And I was like, oh, I wonder what level he is. And so I opened it up, and I was like, he's level 28, and I was level 25. And I was like, oh my God, you went hard on that game. Holy cow, dude. Yeah, I did. I sent him a message on Discord, and I said, I can't beat this. I need help. And he showed up with his giant bear mech, and we kicked this thing's tail, but that game is really, really good. Have you been playing anything else?
Not on Stadia. I've pretty much just been mainlining Borderlands 3. I beat Darksiders, as I said. I jumped in a little bit of Tomb Raider just to do kind of like a first look and things like that. But yeah, I've just been playing Borderlands 3 pretty much across all the platforms. That's the only game that I've been playing. I'm really really enjoying it, and I want to try to complete it before I do my Game of the Year show for a multi-console Game of the Year show that I'm doing this week, because I have a sneaky suspicion that it's going to be very high up on my list.
You're only about. I looked it up, and I guess there's 26 chapters. So you think you're going to be able to do that?
Probably not. But I'm gonna get as close as I can, because I think I'm on chapter 14 or something of 26. So I got, or 17, whatever it is. I got a fairly long way to go, and I'm back at work, so a lot less time to play games, sadly.
Yeah. So I've been playing a lot of Borderlands. Well, clearly not as much as Lloyd, but I've been playing a lot of Borderlands as well. And I have to say that game is really, really addictive. But I had gotten this new capture card for my computer that can capture at 4K 60, and I was trying to figure out the settings which would allow me to get that captured. And finally, I got it worked out. I was like, okay, I can now capture at 4K 60. So I need to find a game that runs at 4K 60. Well, I knew that Borderlands runs at 1080p 60 or 4K 30. So I didn't want that. And I know that Destiny 2 runs at, I think it is upscaled from 1440p up to 4K, and that runs at 60 frames per second. And so I was like, all right, I wanted to make this video where I was talking about how much games should cost, and if you haven't watched that yet, it's on the channel, so make sure that you guys check that out. And so I was like, I need footage for that, so I'm going to capture some 4K footage for that. And I started playing Destiny 2. Basically, I'm basically starting over in that game because of that whole account thing that I talked about before. But I started playing that, and I got sucked right back in. Destiny 2 is just, it's so good. And honestly, if I personally, like, people have asked me to compare the two, which one do I like better? I think that I like Destiny 2 better for me, because it's more like an MMO.
Right.
But I like the gunplay itself in Borderlands 3 more. But again, those are two extremely different games. But I've been playing a lot of Borderlands 3. In the last 2 days, I've been playing a bunch of Destiny 2. And I've also been playing Thumper, which is one of those free games. Included games. I like to be clear there. It's one of the included games that we get in January. If you haven't already claimed those, go into your Stadia app on your phone and claim it. And Thumper is really good. But what I find is that as I play that game, I can't play it for very long, because as I play that game, after finishing a set of levels, my hands will ache because I am gripping the controller like white knuckled, and my teeth will hurt because I am grinding. I'm like clenching my jaw as I play. It is so intense. Right. And it's an amazing game, but it's certainly not a game for everybody. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm only on the boss. I think the mid boss on level 3. And it's really cool. The sounds are amazing. The visuals are fantastic. And overall, I think Thumper is, I'm very happy that I never bought it, because now I get to play it for as an included game.
Sure.
But that's what we've been playing. If you guys want to let us know what you've been playing, you can let us know in the chat, obviously, or in the comments section down below if you're watching this after the fact. All right, you want to get to the news, Lloyd?
Yeah, let's jump right in with the news.
All right. Of the two of us, Lloyd is far more technical than I am. So, Lloyd, do you want to tackle this first one?
Sure. And this is getting to like the above where my knowledge is. Like I do coding, but I don't really do a lot of low level stuff. So I'm worrying about other things than this. But there's been a couple articles that have popped up recently about developers having issues with the Linux kernel that's running Stadia because of things called spin locks, which are ways, kind of at a high level. Say if I'm writing code and I want to access something, I want to access memory, I want to access the CPU directly, I want to access the GPU, I want to lock that resource. So I put a spin lock on it, which is a process that basically automatically keeps checking to see if that resource is available. It'll spin until it's available, and then that piece of code will run. But it looks like, according to this one developer, that the spin locks are spinning even though there's nothing holding that resource, which is causing multiple millisecond delays in code running. And the way that they found this was, they were I guess the developers that were working on Rage 2, they were noticing just mysterious stalls when code was running, and they weren't able to figure it out. So Skarupka, I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's Malta Skarupka, who posted a blog post about it. Basically said that we're trying to figure out what's happening here. We might have to move to mutex instead of spin lock. And I'm like, oh, okay, I've heard of all these things before, but what does that mean? So I dug into it a little bit, and it looks like it's a scheduling or a timing issue with the Linux kernel that's running in the Stadia cloud. And apparently Google is aware of this, and they're working on hopefully trying to get this fixed so this isn't an issue basically with future games that are coming out. But these are the types of things that happen with new hardware. So PlayStation 4 comes out, there's a bunch of hardware issues. Sony works directly with a developer, figures out what the problem is, and then updates the firmware so that this is no longer a problem for any game. Same thing happened on Xbox One, and it looks like the same thing's happening on Stadia. And it's just going to take some patching, some time from Google, and then hopefully this stuff will go away to make game development that easier for future developers that are working on the hardware.
This is exactly what Lloyd and I have been saying all along. I mean, obviously not about the spin locks and the mutex or whatever. Those things sound like a build that you would have in an MMO, like it's a warlock that does a lot of spinning in their, you know what I mean?
They sound like Pokemon moves. Like you've learned mutex. Do you want to drop another move that you know? Yeah, I'll drop spin lock. I don't need that anymore.
Yeah. So I don't know who's naming these things, but clearly they're awesome. I really like the names of these ridiculous things. So what I was saying is these are not like, this is not what we've been talking about, but we've been talking about this idea that this is a new platform, and new platforms bring new problems that developers haven't really run into. And most developers don't develop games with Linux in mind, so they have very little experience. Well, I don't know if that I want to say, I don't want to make blanket statements like that, but it's possible that they have very little experience dealing with this kind of stuff, and so that's going to take time to get things worked out. And as that stuff gets worked out, the ports are going to get better and better. And when the games are made natively for Google Stadia, that's going to really start being able to show the power of the platform, which I've said many, many times that Google is making a mistake by focusing on the 10.7 teraflops or the 4K 60 and stuff like that. All that aside, those are impressive numbers. So I can understand why they want to lean into that. I just still think it's a mistake. But, those numbers are going to come into play later on once we start getting stuff that was designed with Stadia in mind. And I look very, very much forward to that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, as you said, it's something that we've been talking about. And even recently on your subreddit, we've been talking about issues. And I always go back to the one argument, because everyone's like, they're porting games to Stadia and they're running like crap. What's happening? Stadia is horrible. And it's like, no. Developers are working on new hardware. They had 6 to 12 months of experience with this hardware before having to ship a game. It takes years to create a new game. These are growing pains, and it happens with every piece of hardware. And we've seen it. The games that come out at PlayStation 4 launch behave terribly, perform terribly, look terrible in comparison to games that come out 2 years after launch. And then compared to games that are 4 years after launch, those ones look like junk. And it's just the wave of new hardware. It doesn't matter if it's an old game. The hardware itself is new, and that takes time for developers to figure out the little quirks, to find bugs, for Google to fix those bugs, to continue the development process all the way down the road. The awesome thing about Stadia is one day they're going to fix it, and you're going to run the game and it's just going to look better or perform better or be faster or have better textures because there's no downloads on Stadia, which is funny. I was playing with my son yesterday, Borderlands 3, and it takes like it seems like an hour to start Borderlands 3 on the PlayStation 4. Like, it takes forever. Like, there's this little dancing claptrap that just dances for like, it seems like a minute and a half. And then finally one of the splash screens comes up, and then you're at the main menu. I started on Stadia, and 30 seconds later I'm at the main menu and I'm playing the game. Like, that is the amazing thing about Stadia, and it's going to have growing pains, but we gotta be patient and hope that in the future all these games they'll just start working better because of the way that developers can just push out a new binary, and everybody's game is now using that new version of the game without any downloads.
Yeah, so I saw on the Star Wars subreddit that there was going to be season, I want to get the number right, I think it's season 7 of Clone Wars, which is this cartoon, and it is fantastic. Yep. And it went away years ago, and it's coming back. And I guess this season 7 is coming back in February. And I know this is why are you talking about this, Bill? I'm promise I'll get there. Just stick with me for a little bit. So I saw this, and I was like, oh, you know what I need to do? I need to rewatch the last season of Clone Wars to get caught up on the story so that I remember everything that happened. Although I'm sure that they'll do like a last time on whatever. So I started watching that, and as I was watching, I was like, oh, you know what I want to play? I want to play Star Wars Battlefront 2 because, say what you want about the launch of that game. That game is fantastic. I had an absolute blast playing Star Wars Battlefront 2. DICE did an amazing job with that game, in spite of the fact that EA tried to get in their way at every step of the way. But I sat down on my PS4 to play it, and my iPad is responding to me. I sat down on my PS4 to play it, and I had to patch, and I was so sad. Right. It was a huge patch, and it took forever because I hadn't played it in a while. So I shut off my PS4, and I started up Stadia, and I said, okay, I'm going to play something else instead. And instantaneously, I was in a game, and it was just amazing. And it makes me very, very bullish on the future of cloud gaming, whether that be Google Stadia or xCloud or whatever else comes out this year or next year or in the future. I think cloud gaming is the way of the future. And I know that I'm not the only one, because the president of Square Enix posted this letter on their website, and I wanted to share that with you guys. There's a section in this all about cloud gaming. If I can just get rid of that. There we go. It says, cloud streaming comes into its own with 5G on the horizon. Against this backdrop of change, and he's talking about the changing of basically how gaming is as to how gaming is going to be. But he says, against this backdrop of change, we are not only making steady progress on developing next-generation consoles titles, but also actively readying ourselves to support cloud gaming, which we expect to take off with the advent of 5G. The arrival of streaming as a new distribution platform will not only further accelerate the transition from the traditional disc-based sales model to digital sales, which, by the way, this is me saying it, not him, publishers really like digital over disc-based. First off, they make more money, and secondly, you can't trade them in. Which that's great for the industry, not so great for us as the consumer, but I'm okay with it because I never trade in games anyway. Traditional disc-based model to digital sales, but could also drive significant change in business models themselves via adoption of subscription models. For example, we are especially hopeful about the major potential cloud streaming services possess to expand expand markets in growing regions such as India and South America. where there has not been significant adoption of traditional game consoles. As telecommunications infrastructure improves, cloud gaming streaming will directly provide customers in such markets with playing environments that eliminate the need for traditional consoles or PCs. From a game development perspective as well, we will strive to create gaming experiences that are only possible in the cloud, meaning developing cloud-native or cloud-centric games. That sounds really awesome to me. For cloud streaming to enjoy mass adoption, there will need to be innovation, not only in terms of distribution, but also in terms of gaming experiences. I'm going to take another moment to do an aside here. That sentence right there is the reason that I personally am so excited about Google Stadia, because of the experiences that it's going to be able to give us that you can't get outside of a cloud-based system. And I'm almost done here. It says, we believe that new gaming experiences that would have been impossible on traditional consoles will be a major driver of cloud gaming adoption. Our efforts to develop cloud-native or cloud-centric titles are already underway, and we will strive to create new gaming experiences. We naturally face a mountain of challenges, including technological hurdles that must be overcome and issues with telecommunications costs. However, we have no doubt that cloud gaming will represent a major trend over the next 5 years as we enter the age of 5G, and that our strategies for flexibility responding to that trend will be key. We intend to stay on top of new developments and leverage cloud gaming to drive new growth. What do you think about what he said, Lloyd? I'm sorry for talking for so long. What do you think about what he said? Oh, he muted himself.
I think everything he's saying is right. Cloud streaming is really the way that the industry is going, whether people want it to or not. There's going to be a future where every manufacturer is going to have a cloud streaming service, and for people to ignore it seems a little short-sighted right now. And then with 5G on the horizon, I mean, if you have super fast internet wherever you are on whatever device that you're on, cloud streaming makes total sense, because you're not dealing with like LTE, you're not dealing with 3G, you're getting cable speed to your mobile device or your tablet or your laptop or whatever. I think that is really going to change the way that gaming is done. I mean, Pokemon Go over the last 3 years has changed the way that a lot of people game on their device. They're out there, they're in the world, they're interacting with other people, they're doing stuff. Now imagine playing Borderlands 3 or Borderlands 5 or whatever it is in the future. But not only are you playing it on your phone and your computer and your console and whatever, but using your phone, you can go to an area for a specific raid because everybody will have high-speed internets where they are because of 5G. Like, the future of gaming is going to be so different than just sitting in front of a TV with a controller in your hand. They can change the way that that gamers interact with their games, because they can assume that everybody's going to have high-speed internet wherever they are, and that's going to be so huge.
I feel like the people, okay, clearly the president of Square Enix gets it, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's all of these people out here, especially like the YouTubers who have been crapping all over Stadia, and the gamers that have been saying, oh, Stadia is a joke and all that stuff. I feel like those people have a very myopic point of view, where they're comparing what Stadia has now to what it is like in the past, and they aren't looking at the new stuff that they can't imagine yet. And I don't know if, I mean, I think on the part of a lot of the YouTubers and the general media that's saying, oh, it's a dumpster fire. I think that that's on purpose. I think that they are, not everybody, but I think a lot of them are being myopic on purpose because negativity gets clicks. We've talked about this many times, but I think a lot of people just they don't have the imagination to see what could come down the road and what could be possible that is impossible now. And all they can do is compare. And you know what? I'll say something. They're not wrong about the visual fidelity of Stadia versus the home consoles. You know, I loaded up a game on my PS4, and I've got it on this 4K screen in front of me, and I was playing it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is so gorgeous!" Because this is like the first time I've had my PS4 hooked up to a 4K screen, and I was like, "Wow, this is gorgeous." And then I loaded up Stadia, and I was like, "Okay, it's still pretty gorgeous, but it's just not quite as crisp as the other stuff." Does it really matter? No,
Yeah.
because I didn't really notice it until I was looking at it one right after the other. And after playing for 10 minutes, it just kind of faded away, and I went right back into what I was doing before. So, yes, they have a point. Stadia graphical fidelity is not quite as crisp due to the encoding and sending the stuff to us, but it's not about the graphics. It's about the gameplay. And right now, all of the gameplay is exactly the same. So I can understand why everybody who is myopic about it looks at this and they're like, well, see, it's not as good as whatever else. But what he said here, oh gosh, I wish I had highlighted it because I can't find it. But the basic idea was there's going to be stuff that we're doing that you can't do on the other platforms. And that is extremely exciting to me as somebody who really, really thinks that Stadia and cloud gaming in general is going to be the future. Do you have anything to add before we move on?
I got to bring it back to what I remind people of, where they say cloud gaming, it's stupid for Google to get into it. Half of the U.S. population doesn't have good internet. Blah 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 blah. And I always bring them back.
That's a bad number. I don't believe that half. That's nonsense.
Well, whatever that number is, so whatever random numbers they throw out, I bring them back to remind them that when Netflix launched movie streaming, everyone said it would fail because more than half of the US population still had dial-up internet. And they're like, no, people can't stream. They have dial-up internet. This isn't going to work. And it's like, you can launch something now with the hope that in 5 years, you have a bigger audience than you have today. And that's what Stadia is doing. They're launching now. They're showing that this is the future, that in 5 years, they'll have people that have no data caps, that have super fast internet, that have 5G on their phones, or just 5G in their neighborhood that they can use their home computers with as well. That is what Google's shooting for. They're not shooting for the consumers today, and that's going to sustain them forever. They're shooting for 5 years from now when everybody has better internet. Everyone has more data cap, or a larger data cap, or no data caps. That is the future where cloud gaming is going to come into its own and be the primary way that the bulk of people are going to be playing games. But people keep saying it's going to fail. It's going to fail. It's going to fail because I can't use it today, so it's going to fail. Well, more than half of the US couldn't use Netflix when it launched. And I think Netflix is doing okay. And they prove that video streaming is way better than putting a disc in an envelope and sending it through the mail. It's just going to take time and things will get better.
Yeah. Well, just to be fair, my dad can't use Netflix today. He has dial-up at home. So, he still can't use Netflix. And Netflix is doing just fine without him.
It's obviously a failure, Bill, because he can't use it. It's obviously going nowhere. It's a terrible service. Yeah.
Well, Lloyd and I have been saying all along, streaming games is not for everybody. In the future, it'll be for a lot more people. And right now, it is for a smaller segment of the population. But in the future, it will be for everybody. And I look forward to that. And I especially look forward to what we're going to get from that. Now, somebody in chat is asking about the forcing VP9 versus H.264. This is a long discussion in the Discord. If you haven't joined our Discord, runjumpstomp.com/Discord. But there was this long discussion in the Discord about somebody had written this tool that would allow you to force VP9, which is the Google's proprietary encoding. What's the word I'm looking for? Encoder. Yeah, codec. There we go. It's their proprietary codec, which basically codec means code decode. So it takes the picture, encodes it into little tiny pieces, sends you all the pieces, takes those and decodes it, so you get the picture again. Kind of like Star Trek teleporters, if that makes sense. But there was this long conversation about it, and what I guess what people are finding is VP9 uses significantly less data, which is huge. Like that is a big deal for the future of Google Stadia and cloud gaming in general. Is this idea that you can take that same information and send it to us in a much smaller size and still get the same thing. Where H.264, well, uses up way more bandwidth, but I guess looks a little bit better. And then VP9 handles a little bit better. So, Google is still trying to figure this stuff out. And people are like, there's a tool which allows you to force VP9. Honestly, I am not interested in doing workarounds and stuff like that. I just want stuff to just work, and for me, Stadia just works. That being said, I play not even almost. I play exclusively on Chromecast and a controller, so it works wonderful for me. It's just really, really good. That being said, one more thing before I let Lloyd get a word in edgewise here. I really do wish that I could have 4K and turn off HDR. I feel like they have 3 settings where it's like 720p, balanced, and then 4K HDR. I wish there was a 4th setting that was 4K, no HDR, and then 4K with HDR. And the reason for me is because what I've noticed is that I'm looking at it and it looks gorgeous at 4K with HDR, and what I capture looks really washed out. This is a very much a content creator problem. This is not an everybody problem, but for me, that's just a little frustrating. All right, Lloyd, what do you think about this VP9 H.264 stuff?
Yeah, well, first off, to get back to the whole selection thing, and that's what I talked about. It was either the last episode or the episode before, where we need a menu. You hold down the Stadia button, and it comes to the menu. And I want to choose my resolution. I want to turn HDR on and off. I want to choose 30 or 60 frames a second. It'd be really nice if we had just a way to kind of swap those in and out at any point and choose exactly what we want, just like we're watching a YouTube video where you can hit the little gear and say, I want a 360p stream because I'm in a very bad network environment. I want something like that on Stadia. That would be perfect. Back to the whole the VP9 H.264 thing. The reason why H.264 for video streaming is way better for people right now is that a lot of computers, specifically phones, they have built-in hardware decoding for H.264. So they hit to your CPU and your battery life is way low because there's a chip that's all it does. It just decodes that stuff. VP9 using a new codec, that's not the case. That will be the case, and I think that is the case on some Google made hardware where it includes VP9 hardware decoding built right in the chip. So that will happen. I'm sure it happens on the Chromecast. That'll happen in future releases of computers and CPU motherboards and whatnot, where VP9, which is a way better codec for compressing video at very low file size. I'm sure that will come, but the hit to many people's computers right now, VP9 takes way more CPU than H.264 just because of the hardware decoding. So I could see why it's not the default in web browsers right now, but it should be in the future.
All right, just for everybody who's watching, we are experiencing some technical difficulties. It's on my end. I don't know what's happening. That's what happens when you upload lots of stuff and you are not, Google. So that's what's going on. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from our sponsors. When we come back, we are going to talk about the games that we know in quotes, are coming to Stadia in 2020. And then after that, we've got crowd play. So stick around, everyone.
Let the Radio Shack TRS-80 put the world of color computing into your home.
All right, and we are back. Welcome back, everyone. Games coming to Stadia in 2020. There are, obviously this is not the whole list. There's no way that these are the only games that are coming in 2020. These are the games that we know about, and some of them I don't even think are coming in 2020. I think I think one of them is definitely not coming in 2020, and it makes me super sad because it's probably the game that I'm most excited for. 9 to 5 Google went through and I was going to do this. Like, I brought up Google Stadia's games page and I was like, okay, I started writing down all of the games that have already come out, and then I was checking them off. I was like, which ones haven't come out yet? And then I was like, oh, 9 to 5 Google did it for me, so I don't have to. So thank you to them. So The Crew 2 is coming in 2020. Is that something you're interested at all, Lloyd?
No.
No, me either. I don't care about racing games like that. Go ahead. You were going to say something?
No, I mean, The Crew 2 looks fine because it's the big open world racing game where there's motorcycles and boats and planes and hang gliders and you name it. If it has an engine or can float in the air, it's part of this game. Just not my kind of game, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not for me either. Doom. This is the 2016 Doom. I think that this game is going to be one of the free games that we get the same month that Doom Eternal comes out, and then of course Doom Eternal is coming this year as well, March 20th. Elder Scrolls Online. Oh, are you a Doom guy?
I like Doom. I loved the reboot of Doom, and I'm really looking forward to Doom Eternal.
Yeah, me too. I have to say about Doom, the 2016 Doom, like, they showed it off at E3 and I watched it and I was like, really? It's kind of gratuitous. I don't really care. And then I played it and I was like, oh man, this game is awesome. So I'm very excited for Doom. It's my favorite single player first person shooter is Doom 2016. Now, Elder Scrolls Online, this will be our I say our first MMO because, in quotes, because Destiny is more like an MMO than most shooters. But Elder Scrolls is very much a full-on open-world MMO. And Elder Scrolls Online, I've already bought the damn thing twice. So it's going to be a third time that I'm going to buy it, and I can't wait. I'm really surprised it's not out yet. Do you have any predictions as to when do you think that's coming?
I thought this would be a game that would be ripe to release for the holidays because people have some time off work or with their family and they want to play. For it not to come before then, I don't even know. Maybe March. It'll be like a first quarter game, maybe. I would have assumed, I would have bet money that it would have been here by Christmas when it was first announced.
I hope not March, because March is when Animal Crossing and Cyberpunk, Cyberpunk is March?
I believe so, yeah.
And then Final Fantasy VII Remake are all March games. So Elder Scrolls, do it in February, all right? Or April. Actually, probably not April either, because I'm going to be busy playing everything else. Anyway, Super Hot. It's on everything. It's not a huge surprise that it's coming to Stadia. Tom Clancy's The Division 2. I don't know anything about this, except I've heard very good things. It's more...
It's a looter shooter.
Right, it's a looter shooter. But I look at it and my brain says, oh, Tom Clancy's, that means it's realistic. But then I saw footage and I was like, oh, that's not realistic.
It's realistic-ish. It's kind of in the if you look at Breakpoint and then you look at Borderlands, Division 2 is more it's leaning towards Breakpoint, but it's not but it's kind of not there. It's realistic but not super realistic at the same time.
William Miller, or no, Terza Reactor is saying Google and Bethesda a buyout. That would be. Hey, listen, I would love it if Google would buy Bethesda. They need to buy more companies. Like we talked about that on the last episode. They need to buy more companies, more platforms. Get Packed. Get Packed is this weird 4-player, almost kind of like Overcooked kind of game, and a lot of people have forgotten about this. I am not excited for this even a little. That especially because I think you'd have to have four Stadia controllers. So this is going to have horrible sales, I think, because the number of people who are going to have 4 Stadia controllers are going to be very, very few, in my opinion. Unless
they update the Chromecast app to allow the pairing of other controllers, I can see this one just being DOA.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the thing that we have to remember is that the other controllers aren't Wi-Fi, and the Chromecast doesn't really have Bluetooth. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't it have Bluetooth? I thought it did, but maybe not. Maybe that's my error there. So maybe, yeah, with CCU, maybe that's the only thing that will be ever supported is the Stadia controller. I thought maybe there'd be a patch in the future, but I'd have to look into that to be
I
sure.
mean, maybe it has Bluetooth. I don't know. I just assumed that it didn't have Bluetooth, and that's why we couldn't use other controllers. But you might be right, Lloyd. We'll find out. I see something in my brain tells me that it doesn't have Bluetooth, but my brain has been wrong many times in the past. Orcs Must Die 3. This is a day one for me. I'm definitely going to get this one. It looks super fun. It's a tower defense, which I don't normally care about, but when I saw the gameplay at the Stadia Connect, I was like, "Oh hell yes, this looks great." Are you interested in this one?
A little bit.
A little bit.
I want to see they're like, this is gonna have amazing battles with 5 billion orcs. I want to see what that looks like. I don't know if this is a game that I'm super interested in playing though.
Okay. And then Spitlings is the first game that I feel like was announced for Stadia after the initial announcement of these are the games that are coming. This was the first one, like Stadia was already out, and then they were like, oh, and here's this other game. It's from Handy Games, and it's this weird what's the word I want to look co-op where everybody has to work together in order to pass the challenge or everybody dies, that kind of thing. And it looks really, really fun. I'm sure that that'll be out sometime in the near future. Let me get your opinion on this, Lloyd. I've heard people say that this has no place being on Stadia because you can download this and have it be such a small, what's the word I'm looking for? Small file size, or you can continually stream this to your house, essentially downloading the game millions of times over. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. To me it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't have bandwidth caps. I know a lot of people in Canada don't. But I know a lot of people in the world do. So for me, it's not an issue. But I can understand how that would be an issue for a lot of people out there.
For me, I think that I don't think that's a very good argument in my opinion, because you want to have all kinds of games on your platform. You don't just want to have super high, AAA graphics kind of games. You want to have all kinds of games on your platform. So
yep,
I personally think
every consumer out there.
Right, exactly. And then this is the game that I don't think is coming out in 2020 is Baldur's Gate 3. I know that I think that they've said that it's coming to 2020, but I doubt it. I just feel like they've shown us nothing except for a cutscene. And I'm super excited for Baldur's Gate 3, but I just don't think it's coming this year. Do you?
I want to say this will be a fall release, but I'm not. I wouldn't bet my.
Oh no, we lost him. He'll be back any minute. He's not going to bet money on it.
Why does this always happen to me? Why is my thing? I reinstalled Windows to get rid of this problem, and it didn't get rid of the problem. I'm not sure what's happening here.
Audio listeners, Lloyd Discord died, and that's what happened. Go ahead, Lloyd.
As I said, I wouldn't bet money that this was something that would come out in 2020. But and then I was about to say I don't bet money on anything because I don't gamble ever. But this is not something that I would guarantee would come out in 2020. But I really do hope that it is a 2020 game.
Cyberpunk 2077. Day one for me, without a doubt. You?
Same. Yeah, 100%.
Destroy All Humans. I don't know anything about this series, but I've heard extremely good things. I know my buddy Bravd, when he heard this, he was like, "Whoa, man, that's good stuff." Have you played these?
Yeah, I love this game. When like the the PS2 era is what it says in this one, and that's right when I played it. I think I might have even played this on GameCube or Xbox or something, and I can't remember exactly where I played it, but I loved it. It's a heck of a lot of fun. The fact that it's getting a remaster and it's coming out again, I don't know if I'll buy it, but it's something that I'll definitely watch for a price drop or something, because it is a really fun game of just being a jerk alien, like the movie Mars Attacks. This is like Mars Attacks, the video game. It's a lot of fun.
Untitled Martian game, is that kind of thing?
There you go. There you go.
And Gods and Monsters, we know that got delayed. It was supposed to be. I thought that was coming out February, and then it got completely delayed, right? Am I wrong about that?
No, it recently, I believe it was announced that it was delayed to later in the year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So it's going to be a while before we get Gods and Monsters. That's not going to be in February. Square Enix already told us that they are working on their cloud stuff, and Marvel's Avengers is coming. I don't know how I feel about this game still. I feel like Square Enix needs to do a better job on their messaging. What I saw at E3 was just kind of okay, good for you. I'm not interested, but people who played it said that it's really good. So maybe it's just Square being Square. How do you feel about Marvel's Avengers?
Yeah, I pre-ordered. I pre-ordered it on the PlayStation 4, I think, at when it was first announced, because they often do like E3 sales here where you get games for almost half price, which is important in Canada when a new release costs $80. So I pre-ordered this one a long time ago. So when it does come out, I'll be playing it on the PlayStation 4, unless I can get it on Stadia for that same price.
Yeah. And then this is one I didn't even know about, Monster Energy, which, okay, first off, every time I see this now, I kind of go, I hate saying it out loud, but Monster Energy. I'm sorry. Let me do this the right way. Monster Energy Supercross 3 FIM World Championship, the official video game. This is, okay, first off, Monster Energy aside, what I saw when I watched this, I was like, oh, the graphics look kind of pretty rad. Maybe this will be really fun, like in a Mario Kart kind of way, but it's probably way too realistic for me, in which case I'll be super bad at it. But is this dirt bike racing something that you're excited for?
No, I'm not a racing guy at all. Depending, even if it's 2 wheels or 4 wheels, it's kind of not the game that I like. But I've played the Monster Energy games before. They're decent. Actually, I think Monster Energy Supercross was free on PlayStation Plus last month, like the December or whatever. So I'm sure a lot of people have been playing older games in the series. So maybe this will be exciting for people that are wanting more motorcycle action.
Yeah, and not every game has to be for us. This is taking a lot longer than I thought that it would, so let's speed it up. Ubisoft Watch Dogs Legion, that's also been delayed along with Gods and Monsters. So those are both games that have been delayed. Watch Dogs Legions, though, looks awesome, and I'm looking forward to it. And Lloyd's favorite game on this whole list is Windjammers 2. Am I right?
I like Windjammers. Windjammers is a fantastic title. I don't know if it's my favorite one, but I'm actually excited to see this playing on Stadia.
Yeah, me too. All right, so we've hit all of the stuff that we usually talk about. At the end of the show, we usually do crowd play, and we start with the people who have super chatted at us throughout the show. So real quick, we've got some people to thank who super chatted without really giving us a question. Joel Thompson, thank you very much for the super chat. Okay, he's hitting a bunch of them. Avery Krause became a member of the YouTube channel. Bone Dead Fossil sent a bigger super chat in. Thank you very much for that. And they said, Borderlands 3 and Destiny 2, let's go Stadia. I don't think that Lloyd and I could agree more. So, yep. Yeah. And then Avery Krause sent in a super chat, and they said 2020 means Stadia base is coming soon, as in early February. What features / infrastructure must Stadia have ready by or at base launch for success? What do you think about that, Lloyd?
Millions of blades waiting for people to play, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be jumping on right at launch to check it out. So hopefully they're going to have a pile of hardware sitting there waiting for people to access it, because if they get if there's any sort of queue or crashes or something, we're going to have a whole bunch more YouTube thumbnails where people are making angry statements towards Google on this.
I think the one thing that they need to get right, and this is not from my personal testing, but from what I've read, is they need to make sure that VP9 is ready to roll on every Chrome browser, so that when you start, it does not use H.264, because if it's using less data, it's less likely that somebody's crappy internet connection or terrible modem or a pile of junk router is going to interfere with their experience with Google Stadia. And you know what I think that they also need to do? They need to, and this is not for Stadia base, but they should sell Stadia, like, you know what? They should throw in a buddy pass with every Google router that they sell. The Google Wi-Fi, which I have in my house and is wonderful. They should include a Stadia buddy pass in every single one of those. And they should hype it up, because it's fantastic the way that Wi-Fi works. Way better than anything that I've had before, although I've never had mesh routing before, so it's my first time having really, really good connection everywhere in my house.
Right.
Yorkham, I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name, but Yorkham sent in a super chat and they said CES predictions for Stadia. Do you think we're going to see when is CES? That's in March, isn't it? Or is that February?
No, it's in January, isn't it?
January.
CES.
Okay.
2020. I think it's like the next week or the week after.
Okay. So do you think we're going to get a Connect?
So yeah, next week. I definitely think Stadia is going to be there. Google's always there. I think they're going to show off what Stadia can do a little bit, but with the free version of Stadia base being so far away, I don't really know how much they can really talk about, because we know what Stadia is right now. There's been videos, there's been those commercials with the crazy dude flying through the sky, which I love.
I hate those.
I absolutely love them. I love those bizarre zany commercials. What they might do is they might launch a lower priced bundle where you just get the controller, USB-C cable for your PC, and access to Stadia for 3 months for say $70 or $80 or whatever, to kind of push people away from having to buy a Chromecast if they already have one.
Yeah, we've been calling for that since they announced, not since it launched, but since they announced it originally. I was like, I already have a Chromecast Ultra. Why are you making me buy another one? So yeah, that's definitely a good idea. And then it didn't happen during the show, but 22 hours ago, Daniel Muhammad became a member here on the YouTube channel, and we appreciate all of that. We only got about 7 minutes left before we got to wrap this up, but I sent out a tweet asking people, what did you guys want us to talk about on the show? Lieutenant Red Panda says, do you think any games will release this month, or are we set in what we have for a while? Lloyd?
I think we're going to get something. I'm not sure what that something will be. We've also seen that Google is adding things to the sale page, because they added Red Dead Redemption on sale after all the other games that were already on sale for Stadia Pro. So I think there's going to be a lot of motion there with things coming on and coming off sale. All these sales, I believe, end on the 8th. So I'm assuming that there'll be another batch of things coming. Oh no, some of them are ending on the 15th or whatever. So
yeah, Final Fantasy 15 is on sale until the 15th.
Yeah, and Borderlands 3 is on sale until, which I can't click because I own. Let's do the other one, which is probably not going to work. That's the 8th as well. So yeah, so things are coming on and off sale starting next week. I would assume that if we get any new games, we'll probably get one next week, maybe on the 8th as well. It seems like Tuesday is where they like to release these things.
Joe Viederman says, when do you guys think the next Connect will be? I think that we're going to get one in January. What do you think, Lloyd?
Yeah, 100%. I think CES is next year, so maybe the week after we'll have, or next week is CES, or in a few days, depending if people can. I don't think that Sunday is the week that's coming. Sunday's the end of the week that just passed. So I always say next week, and my wife's like, "No, it's this week," and I'm like, "Oh my god, okay, it doesn't matter."
Welcome to this week and next week.
Exactly. So CS is coming up in a few days. I think the week following is when we'll get at least the announcement that a Stadia Connect is going to be coming.
All right. Well, that's it for us today. Thank you guys for all of the support, for everybody who came and watched live. If you came to watch live, stick around after the show. We're going to give out a couple buddy passes so that if you don't have Google Stadia, you can start playing today. You don't have to download anything. Real quick, there was one YouTube comment that I was going to address. Fabian Winkler sent this message multiple times. They said, if you're looking for a Borderlands 3 co-op buddy, I am up for the task. Listen, join the Discord. Go to runjumpstomp.com/Discord. In there, we have an LFG channel, which I didn't realize that everybody didn't know this until recently, but LFG means looking for group. Other people
really
think it means, well, what do you think it means?
I didn't know.
Oh, okay. LFG means
joking.
looking
I'm
for...
joking.
Oh,
I'm joking. I'm an MMO guy from way back. LFG
right. I was so confused. So LFG is looking for group, and you can use that in order to figure out, get together with other people. Follow the show on Twitter at Stadiacast. Follow me at RunJumpStomp. Follow Lloyd at Dasme. And be sure to use the hashtag Stadiacast so that we can find your tweets. Join the Stadiacast Discord. I already kind of talked about that. And then when you're joining Discords, join Lloyd's Discord. His is over at resd.tv/Discord. Lloyd, why don't you plug one of your other shows real quick before we get out of here?
Sure. Yeah, I know a lot of people are Nintendo fans and have come from either Nintendo Pulse, which is my Nintendo show that's been going on forever, or Bill's Nintendo show that's been going on since the Switch dropped. But we've been doing some really cool things with Nintendo Pulse. We just had our Nintendo Game of the Year episode that just posted yesterday. A lot of really great conversation there. So if you're looking for a Nintendo show to carry you into the new year, you might want to look for Nintendo Pulse on your podcatcher of choice.
That's right. You should. I've been listening to his show since before I started my show. So take that, people. And speaking of other shows you can listen to, I've been season 1 of 143 Pixels is finishing up on Tuesday. So that's the last episode of the first season of 143 Pixels. I had an absolute blast talking to everybody, and I hope that you guys will check that out. You can find it wherever it is that you download podcasts, and you can subscribe for free. Again, that's 143 Pixels. And if you want to easily find that, go to runjumpstomp.com/shows. The music you're about to hear is... I'm playing music. Let me stop it. Hold on. Go ahead, Lloyd.
Sorry, I can't hear the music in my ears, so I didn't know you were playing them. I just got to say, if you haven't listened to 143 Pixels, that was one of my favorite podcasts, new podcasts of last year. You guys definitely need to go subscribe to that one. It is such a good show. Check it out, Bill. You're killing it with that one. It's a really, really great podcast.
Thank you very much. All right. And the music that you are about to hear is Subterranean Kamikaze by Zircon. Thank you for the kind words, Lloyd. Check out their stuff at zirconstudios.bandcamp.com. Goodbye.
Later, everybody.
All right, we're back.
Awesome.
We did it.
I think we should change the name of the show to Lloyd Interrupts Billcast, because I seem to do that often because of the delay. I'm so used to being the one that has zero delay, so I interrupt you, and I feel bad every time.
Don't feel bad.
I'm
we're
Canadian.
both.
I have to feel bad.
That's true. He has a legal obligation to feel bad. Real quick, before we go, Rick tweeted this question to the Stadiacast hashtag. and we just didn't have time to fit it in the show. But he said, please, can you have touch? He was said this to Google Stadia and then used our hashtag, which is cool. Please, can you have touchscreen inputs as a controller for games like Football Manager 20? Have you ever played Football Manager?
No, I'm not a soccer fan at all.
I do think that this is I mean, I don't know how. Isn't that a game with a bunch of tiny little text?
I thought so. I really did.
You're not actually playing soccer. You're like managing a football team, right?
Yeah. It's more of a sim. Sim as far as I know. What little I know about a game I've never played, I think that's what it is. It's a full-on sim where you can watch the game being played, but I don't think you can control it directly.
How do you feel about this idea of having touchscreen inputs for a game like that?
I think if you add touchscreen inputs as a control method, you're gonna get a game that is not going to be playable on the Chromecast Ultra in the future, which I don't think Google ever wants to. I don't think they want to broach that potential in the future. So I don't know if that will ever happen. But yeah, I mean, for a game like that, maybe have it as an option if you're playing just on phone, but not allow it as the only control method for a game that comes to Stadia.
Yeah, I can see that. Part of me worries what kind of games would show up if it's touchscreen enabled, because then people would just start shovelwaring phone games onto Stadia. Although they're pretty selective about the games that they let on the platform. So yeah, I guess I don't know how I feel about it. If it makes you happy, then it can't be that bad, as Sheryl Crow told us all those years ago. All right, let's find some buddy passes and tweet them out. Lloyd, do you have any buddy passes to give, or do you need me to send them to you?
I do not have. I don't have a one anymore. My collection of buddy passes has been depleted.
All right, so I'm gonna send one to you. I don't even know how the hell I can do this. I know what I can do. So let me copy that, and we'll go solo cam so they can't see it while I send it to you. There you go. So Lloyd's
Did you hear that beep, by the way?
No, what beep?
Because when you sent it to me, I got a notification in Discord, which I thought I had turned off, but I don't know, man. This whole crashing thing is really aggravating me, because apparently a whole refresh of Windows didn't fix it, so I have no idea what the hell is happening.
Are you running Canary or the regular Discord?
I was running Canary at the end of the year, and it still crashed, so I switched back to the regular one at when I did the reinstall of Windows.
Oh, okay. Jason Lesko says, do you know when Elder Scrolls Online is dropping for Stadia? We talked about that on the show, man. No, we don't. We don't know. So Lloyd is going to tweet out a Stadiacast buddy code, a Stadia buddy pass. And if you don't follow him already, go to @Dasme, @DASME on Twitter, and follow him over there. And he's going to tweet out a buddy pass that you can use. And after he's done, I'm going to do it as well. So if you don't know what this is, you're going to want to have the Stadia app installed on your phone, which if you're watching this show, you probably already have it installed on your phone. But you want to have it installed on your phone so that you can claim your buddy pass as soon as you can. Now, keep in mind, once you put this number in, you have to actually put your credit card number in. It doesn't charge you anything until the 3 months are up. But you have to put your credit card number in, or the buddy pass will still be available for somebody else to claim. Turza Reactor in chat says, we need new game news. I don't know, man. I got so much to play right now. I've got Tomb Raider, which I haven't touched. I've got Tomb Raider 2, which I haven't touched. I have Thumper, which I've been playing. I've got Borderlands 3. I've got Destiny 2. If you've already played all those games, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I understand maybe that those games aren't for you, but I have so much to play. I'm really not even worried.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I Borderlands, I probably have another 20 hours of Borderlands ahead of me, plus replaying it to get better weapons and things like that. I have a crap ton of stuff on Nintendo Switch to play. I'm doing my totally insane first look a day video for the month of January on the Nintendo Switch. So I'm going to be playing 31 different games across the month of January. I got too much to play that if we don't get any more game announcements, I'll be okay with that.
Can you talk to people for a little bit while I tweet?
Yeah. If you guys have not checked out Borderlands 3, you might want to check out the stream that Bill and I did last weekend, where we did Bill's cam was on a stream, my cam was on a stream, or my gameplay was on a stream, and we were streaming at the exact same time to the Stadiacast channel, which I didn't realize was a thing, and it is really cool. It would be even nicer if you could do kind of like co-streaming like you can on Twitch, where you can see both screens at the same time. But I guess people could have set up 2 browser windows or whatever. But it was really fun, and hopefully we can do a lot more of that. Or better yet, hopefully the makers of games like Borderlands can just add Stream Connect, and then I can see Bill's screen on my screen while I'm streaming my screen to you, so you can see my screen and then his screen, which I can see on my screen. It's screenception will be what's happening here.
Well, you wouldn't actually have to worry about screenception too much, because I don't know if you realized, but when they sent out, or when you were playing Ghost Recon Breakpoint, the video that you were seeing from the other players did not have their UI on it. So they could they send you the other person's screen before they put that stuff on.
Yep.
So like you don't have that screenception issue. And just so everybody knows, I'm at Run Jump Stomp on Twitter, and if you haven't already, go over there and follow me. I'm going to tweet out a buddy pass for that right now. Right now? Oh no, I'm not. In just a second. Be sure to follow at Stadiacast. I almost dropped the ball on that one, huh? And listen to the show. Exclamation point. Tweet. All right, it's tweeted out there. Good luck to everybody. I hope that you all get the games that you want. Brett says first world problem, too many games to play. That's exactly what's going on. I have too many games to play. Too many games. Too many games.
Too many games.
All right. You ready to get out of here, Lloyd?
I am. Thanks everybody for coming out, and for all the super chats and everything. I keep putting stuff on my little guy here, so it's not as easy for me to go. You guys, seriously, you folks, you guys and girls rock, and the support that you showed us in 2019 was humbling, and I'm really excited to do a hell of a lot more Stadia content in 2020. I think it's going to be a really big year for cloud streaming.
Before we go, one last thing. I'm going to ask the question block a question. Are you ready? Will there be a Stadia Connect in January?
Uh-oh.
Wowzer, outlook good. That's what it says right there. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Smart
little question block.
Smart little question block. All right, we'll see you guys. Bye-bye. See you, Lloyd.
Take it easy, everybody. See you, Bill.